The film opens in the year 2563, which is 300 years after a collateral war. A levitating utopia is seen built over a ruined city. A man is seen picking scrap in a scrapyard under that utopia. There, he finds the decapitated head of a female cyborg, which turns out to be alive. The man brings the cyborg back to his place, where he works with his nurse to give the cyborg a new body. Moments later, the cyborg wakes up with her memory completely wiped out. She goes down, where the man introduces himself as Dr. Dyson Ido. The cyborg doesn't remember anything, so all Ido tells her is that he found her brain in a scrapyard. He takes her out, stating that they're in the Iron City. The first thing she glances at is the utopia, which Ido introduces to her as Salem. There, Ido names her Alita, which she loves. When he leaves her momentarily, she befriends a dog and reads a flying pamphlet detailing a serial killer with a bounty on his head. Lost in reading, she almost gets run over by a spider-like machine called the Centurion, but a boy named Hugo jumps in to save her. However, Alita's reflexive instincts activate, and she saves her dog friend by showing off great moves. Hugo gets impressed and admires that she's a cyborg. Soon, Ido shows up, revealing Hugo as his spare part fetcher and making him leave. At night, the killer strikes again. Alita spots Ido walking back to the home with an injury. The next day, Ido's ex-wife, Chiren, spots Alita and goes to have a word with him, while Alita goes to find Hugo. She takes a stroll with Ido and asks why he's given Alita the body he prepared for his daughter, who's now dead. Meanwhile, Alita finds Hugo playing motorball with his friends. Chiren offers Ido to reunite and work in an advanced facility, sponsored by Vector, who is her ticket to Salem. Ido bluntly denies her offer. Back at the game, Alita outsmarts the kid, who tries to sabotage her game and makes an intimidating impression on everyone.
Come on, Kira! Sorry, princess!
Afterwards, Hugo gives her a ride home and stops by a shop to feed her chocolate to jog her memories. When she returns home late, Ido lectures her and feeds her nutritious food. The next morning, Hugo takes Alita on top of a ruined skyscraper and reveals to her that her parts were found under Salem's scrapyard, which means she came from Salem, which makes her curious. That night, she follows Ido and spots him going after a woman. She thinks Ido is the killer, so she jumps off the balcony to stop him. It turns out to be a trap set up by 3 evil cyborgs who want to bring Ido down since he's a hunter warrior. He asks Alita to leave, but Alita is driven to the fight with impeccable strength and a set of skills, using which she effortlessly finishes off 2 of the cyborgs. When she heads towards the third man, known as Grovishka, an old memory is reignited, in which she sees herself fighting on the moon along with her team. Grovishka runs away like a coward and threatens to reappear for revenge. Ido heads to the Hunter Warrior's headquarters with the cyborg's head to receive his bounty. When he returns, Alita demands to know who she truly is, so Ido takes her home and shows her his daughter, Alita. Alita was a wheelchair-bound teenager. He originally built the body for her to walk again, but she died at the hands of one of his reckless cyborg patients, which also led to his divorce. And to answer Alita's curiosities, Ido takes a look at her original cybercore and tells her that the technology used inside her was only manufactured before the Great Fall, which makes Alita 300 years old. The scenes spin to Chiren, who is approached by Grovishka, begging to be repaired. When Chiren finds out Ido's little cyborg did that to him, she agrees to repair him, during which Vector also shows up, possessed by Nova, the Watcher of Salem. Grovishka reveals to him about Alita using the ancient technique of Panzer Kunst to fight, which piques Nova's interest, so he gives him another chance to be repaired. Back in the Iron City, Alita shares her thoughts on becoming a hunter warrior to jog her memory, but when Ido refuses to, she runs away to see Hugo, who takes her to the infamous motorball. There, Chiren spots Alita and shows her to Vector, who owns players in the game. Hugo also sees him and tells Alita he sometimes works for Vector and helps him bring the parts he needs for his players. Currently, Chiren eyes a player's arms and wishes to have them for Grovishka. Suddenly, Hugo's friends state an emergency and take him away. Hugo quickly asks Alita out for tomorrow to jog her memory. Later, Vector sends his thugs to kidnap the player Chiren was eyeing. When they bring the player to Vector, he has his arms removed. The main thug takes off his mask and turns out to be Hugo, who doesn't wish to reveal his true identity to Alita. The next day, Hugo takes Alita out of the city with his friends and shows her a spaceship that fell down during the war between Zalem and the URM, the United Republic of Mars. Alita immediately remembers where the commanding room is and dives into the water to enter it. Inside, she discovers a new armor, which she brings back to Ido and asks to be put inside it. Ido doesn't agree at first, but when she becomes aggressive, he reveals that the armor she's recovered is called the Berserker, a humanoid weapon technology made by the URM, and the way Alita's core reacted to it is proof that she was made for it. Unfortunately for Alita, Ido stands by his words and doesn't grant her wish, which prompts her to walk to the Hunter factory and get herself registered as a Hunter warrior. With Hugo, she goes straight to the Hunter's common place, where another cyborg hunter named Zapan despises her for being a hunter at such a young age. She asks everyone to join heads to capture Gruishka together, but no one takes her seriously since Gruishka is protected by the elites. Zapan agrees on taking Alita under his wing after undermining her, but Alita snaps back at him by making fun of his hair and making him a laughing stock. His blood boils with humiliation, so he attacks Alita, but she effortlessly beats him, which is more shameful. She then provokes everyone to fight her and wreaks havoc in the bar. Ido spots her and breaks the fights in there right before the unannounced entrance of the remodeled Gruishka, who seeks Alita. The hunters quickly back off, showing Alita no support. Gruishka provokes Alita and lures her underground to his domain, where he reveals his boss, Nova, controls her fate as well as the others. Hearing this, she becomes distracted and gets chopped into pieces by his extending claws. She immediately gets a flashback, in which she is getting trained to slay Nova. Despite dying, Alita still manages to use her remaining hand to poke out Gruishka's eye. Hugo, Ido, and another hunter show up and chase Gruishka away. Ido then picks up Alita's leftover body and walks away, ignoring Charon and her threats. He brings her back and puts her in the Berserker to bring her back to life. She wakes up 10 times stronger and more flexible, so she runs to see Hugo and shares her first kiss with him, which she senses due to the Berserker. Meanwhile, Nova speaks to the failed Gruishka through Vector and brainwashes him into killing Alita. Once Nova leaves, Vector shares with Charon that he doesn't have faith in Gruishka, so he brings Hugo and gets him drunk to get information about Alita. The next day, Hugo wakes up to Alita sitting in his windows. Upon finding Hugo needs some money to become eligible for Zalem, she offers him her heart, but he doesn't find himself worthy and gives it back to her. Instead, he convinces her to participate in the motorball for Vector in order to get the both of them to Zalem, so she happily agrees. While Ido helps her with the gear backstage, Vector adds bounty hunters in the game and puts a bounty on Alita's head so they can kill her during the game. On Hugo's side, he's on his way to the motorball, but stops on his way to tell his stealing friend that he's quitting the stealing gig for Vector. As the two spar, Zapan kills a cyborg and pins it on Hugo in order to kill him to take revenge from Alita. Hugo manages to escape somehow. Meanwhile, Ido sits in the audience and spots Hunter warriors in the game, so he immediately alerts Alita about Vector's nasty setup. Alita plays well and takes down the Hunters one by one, but as soon as she gets a call from Hugo detailing his situation, she runs out of the game to help him by the old church. The Hunters come after her, but she finishes them off and saves Hugo from Zapan's wrath. However, she gets confused when she sees Hugo's name on the bounty screen. Zapan distracts her and stabs Hugo with his blade. Alita picks him up and runs inside the church when the Centurions show up to declare Hugo. There, Hugo confesses to everything he's done for Vector and confesses his love for her before dying. Charon watches them, so she turns against Vector to help Alita perform a head-severing surgery on Hugo without damaging his brain. Alita takes out his head outside and claims the bounty on Hugo, but Zapan figures out what she's up to and tries to take the head from her, but instead, she steals his blade and peels off his face. She takes the head to Ido, who fixes it on a cyborg and praises Charon's sleek surgery. Ido finally reveals that Nova exiled him and Charon for having an ill daughter, so they settled in the city. This infuriates Alita further, so she breaks into the facility, kills the Centurions, and breaks into Vector's office. Gruishka attacks her from behind with his extending claws, but the Berserker helps heal her and slice Gruishka in half. When she finally speaks to Nova through Vector, he threatens to kill Hugo, so she ends up killing Vector to shut Nova. Ido immediately calls her to inform her that he's helped escape Hugo, who is now heading to Salem through the pipelines. Alita shows up on time and convinces him to come back, but Nova sends down a spinning blade ring down the pipeline, which chops Hugo's new body into pieces. Alita uses the blade to cling to the pipeline and holds Hugo's hand, but it breaks, due to which Hugo falls and dies. In the end, she joins the Motorball Champions League to become the final champion, which is the only way to get to Salem and seek revenge from Nova, who's currently watching her. And the movie ends here. Thank you for being a part of our video. If these tales of mystery and intrigue sent shivers down your spine, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more bone-chilling narratives. Stay tuned. And until next time, stay captivated.